The Desperate Alliance. The crystalline spires of Lumina Prime once caught the light of three suns, casting prismatic rainbows across the planet's azure plains. Now those spires lay shattered, their fragments scattered like tears across a landscape scarred by orbital bombardment. Ambassador Ilara stood at the viewport of the last remaining government building, her luminescent skin dimmed with grief as she watched another Krath warship descend through the clouds. "They've taken the eastern province," Commander Solus reported, his voice hollow. The refugee ships didn't make it out in time. Ilara closed her eyes, four-fingered hands trembling against the cool glass. How many? 3 million, mostly civilians. 3 million more luminary who would never see another sunrise. 3 million who would either be processed as slave labor or executed as resource inefficiencies by the Krath Empire's remorseless calculus. "The Council must respond now," Ilara whispered. "They cannot ignore genocide." Commander Solus made a bitter sound. "The Galactic Council has been deliberating for 8 solar cycles while our people die. They fear the Krath too much to act." Ilara knew he was right. The luminary, scholars, artists, and scientists, had contributed countless medical and technological advancements to galactic civilization. But when the Krath Armada appeared at the edges of their system with demands for unconditional surrender, the Council had offered nothing but empty platitudes. "We have one option left," Ilara said, turning from the viewport. "The forbidden option." Solus's bioluminescent patterns flashed in alarm. "You can't mean humans," Ilara confirmed. "We contact Earth." The commander's patterns dimmed to a shocked blue. "The isolation protocols will mean nothing if our species is extinct," Ilara interrupted. "I studied the historical archives. Before they withdrew from galactic affairs, the humans fought the Hive Collective to a standstill with technology far inferior to what they must possess now." "Those are just stories," Solus protested. "Exaggerations from a conflict centuries past, and even if true, the humans sealed their borders. They want nothing to do with the galaxy." "Then I will have to convince them otherwise," Ilara said, her determination hardening like crystal. "Prepare my ship." The journey to the Sol system took 14 days. 14 days during which 2 more luminary colonies fell to the Krath advance. Ilara spent the time studying everything known about humans, a species that had shocked the galaxy with their ferocity during their brief appearance on the cosmic stage before retreating behind their borders. When her small diplomatic vessel approached the outer beacons marking human territory, she expected immediate interception. Instead, her communications array lit up with a single message, transmitted on all frequencies in perfect galactic standard. "Unidentified vessel, you are approaching restricted space. Identify yourself and state your purpose or be destroyed." No preamble, no diplomatic niceties, just the stark efficiency that characterized everything she'd learned about humans. Ilara opened a channel. "This is Ambassador Ilara of the Luminary Confederation requesting emergency diplomatic contact with Earth authorities. My people are facing extinction. We need help." For long moments, there was nothing but silence. Then, "Transmit verification of diplomatic status and species identification. Maintain position." After sending the requested data, Ilara waited, counting her heartbeats. 342 beats later, her ship shuddered as it was caught in a tractor beam. "Follow escort to Luna Station," came the terse instruction as 3 sleek black vessels materialized around her ship. Their design was unlike anything in her databanks. No visible weapons, yet somehow radiating lethal capability. The Luna Station proved to be a massive installation orbiting Earth's moon, bristling with defense systems and docking bays. As Ilara was escorted through its corridors by silent, armored guards, she found herself studying the humans she passed. They were remarkably diverse in appearance, but shared a certain intensity in their movements, an economy of motion that spoke of latent power. The council chamber she was finally led to contained only 5 humans, 3 women and 2 men. Seated at a semicircular table, Ambassador, spoke a silver-haired woman at the center. I am Admiral Helena Chen, Earth Defense Force. These are my colleagues from our governing council. We understand your people are at war. Not at war, Ilara corrected, her voice breaking despite her diplomatic training. Being exterminated. The Krath Empire has attacked without provocation. They destroy our cities, enslave our people, strip our worlds of resources. The Galactic Council refuses to intervene. She activated a holographic projector that displayed the devastation of Lumina Prime, the refugee ships being shot down, the processing camps where her people were sorted like materials in a recycling plant. We are peaceful, Ilara continued. We have no significant military. In 3 months, the Krath have destroyed half our worlds. In another 3, the Luminary will exist only in galactic archives. Admiral Chen's expression remained impassive, but her eyes narrowed fractionally. And you came to Earth, breaking isolation protocols established centuries ago. Because the stories of humans have persisted, Ilara said. Your species fought when outmatched. You survived when logic said you should perish. You protected the weak even at cost to yourselves. She paused, gathering her courage. I come to beg for your help, knowing I have no right to ask it. A younger man with dark skin spoke next. The isolation protocols exist for a reason. Ambassador, the galaxy made it clear they considered humans too violent, too unpredictable. We were called barbaric for how we fought the hive. Perhaps we were. Admiral Chen acknowledged. But we also remember what it's like to face extinction. She turned to her colleagues. Council, your thoughts. What followed was the most direct and efficient deliberation Ilara had ever witnessed. No posturing, no political maneuvering. Just a clear-eyed assessment of facts and consequences. If we intervene, said an older man with lines etched deep in his face, we commit fully. There's no halfway with something like this. The Krath don't know our current capabilities, offered a woman with auburn hair. We'd have the element of surprise, at least initially. This would end our isolation permanently, the fifth counselor noted. For better or worse. Admiral Chen nodded at each point, then turned back to Ilara. We need to know everything about the Krath. Their numbers, technology, tactics, and we need to verify your information independently. Of course, Ilara agreed, hope flickering for the first time in months. One last question, Ambassador, Chen said, leaning forward. If we help your people, what do the Luminary offer in return? The directness startled Ilara. In her culture, such transactional diplomacy would be considered vulgar, especially in a humanitarian crisis, but she recognized the human need for clarity. Knowledge, she answered honestly. The Luminary are the foremost scientists in the galaxy. Medical technology that can extend your lifespans, faster than light innovations, energy production systems beyond anything you possess, and our eternal alliance. Chen nodded slowly, then looked to her colleagues. One by one, they nodded. Ambassador Ilara, the Admiral said, standing, Earth has been isolated for 200 years because the galaxy feared what we might do if provoked. Perhaps it's time they remembered why. 3 weeks later, the first human battle group emerged from slip space at the edge of the Canopus system, home to the largest remaining luminary colony. 8 Krath destroyers orbited the planet, methodically bombarding its surface defenses. On the bridge of the EDF Invictus, Admiral Chen watched the tactical display with calculating eyes. They're using standard orbital bombardment patterns, observed Captain Ishida beside her. No variation, no adaptation. An empire that expands through overwhelming force rarely develops tactical flexibility, Chen replied. They've never needed it. She pressed the fleet-wide communication button. All ships. Execute Operation Thunderbolt. No warnings, no quarter. Across the human fleet, targeting systems locked onto the Krath vessels, whose sensors had only just registered the newcomers. Unknown vessels, came the Krath transmission, arrogant even in its confusion. This system is claimed by the Krath Empire, Depart immediately or be destroyed. Admiral Chen's smile contained no warmth. Commence firing. The space between the fleets erupted with weapons technology, unseen in the galaxy for centuries. Graviton lenses sliced through craft shields as if they were tissue. Quantum phase torpedoes bypassed defensive systems entirely, detonating within the enemy ship's power cores. In under 3 minutes, 7 craft destroyers were reduced to expanding clouds of debris. The 8th managed to transmit a distress signal before it too vanished in a blinding flash. On Canopus below, the luminary witnessed what they would later call the sky breaking, the moment when darkness was banished by the light of craft warships dying in orbit. Signal from the surface. Admiral, reported the communications officer. They're requesting identification. Tell them, Chen said, her eyes still on the tactical display, that humanity has answered their call. Unleashing the storm. The craft had never experienced defeat, not in the 3 centuries since their emergence from the galactic core. Not as they methodically consumed one civilization after another, incorporating useful technologies and discarding the rest. Their expansion had been inevitable, mathematical, until they encountered humans. Supreme Commander Vexorn stood before the Emperor, his proud posture diminished for the first time in his long career. The throne room's obsidian floors reflected the red ambient light, making it appear as though they stood in a pool of blood. Appropriate, given the news he brought. The 7th Fleet has been lost, Divine One, Vexorn reported. All 53 vessels destroyed over the Lumina homeworld. Emperor Krathul rose from his crystalline throne, towering 3 meters tall, his exoskeletal plates clicking with agitation. Impossible. By what force? Humans, Divine One. The Emperor's compound eyes widened fractionally, the only indication of his shock. The isolated primitives. They dare interfere with our divine expansion. They have evolved, Emperor. Their technology now exceeds our projections. Their tactics defy conventional warfare parameters. On the massive view screen behind the throne, footage from the battle played in grim silence. Human vessels, sleek, dark shapes against the void, moved with precision that bordered on prescience, countering craft maneuvers before they fully developed. Their weapons bypassed shields calibrated to stop any known energy signature. Most disturbing of all, they targeted command ships with unerring accuracy, decapitating the rigid craft command structure within minutes. They do not fight as civilized beings should, Vexorn continued. They strike without ritual challenge, without honor declarations. They target our command vessels first, our supply lines second. They send small craft on suicide runs to disable our larger ships. The Emperor's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of intense calculation. Numbers. I require exact numbers. We estimate they have deployed approximately 200 capital ships, Divine One. But Vexorn hesitated. Speak. Intelligence suggests this is merely a fraction of their fleet. Intercepts indicate they call this a rapid response force, while their main battle groups are still mobilizing. For the first time in recorded history, the Emperor's voice held an unfamiliar note. Uncertainty. How did we not know of this military buildup? They were primitive isolationists. They maintained their isolation through deception, Divine One. Our understanding of their capabilities was severely flawed. On the luminary colony world of Elysium, Captain Maya Rodriguez led the ground assault against entrenched craft positions. Unlike the space battles, liberating occupied planets required boots on the ground. And humans excelled at this most primal form of warfare. Strike teams Alpha through Delta converge on processing center coordinates, Maya ordered through her neural link. Echo and Foxtrot, secure those civilian shelters. Remember, people, the luminary are photosensitive. Flash grenades will harm them as much as the enemy. Through her enhanced vision, Maya watched her soldiers advance through the ruins of what had once been a beautiful luminary city, where the native species built with harmony and elegance, the craft constructed with brutal functionality. prefabricated processing centers and defensive emplacements bolted onto the landscape like cancerous growths. Maya's squad encountered the first resistance at a checkpoint, 8 Krath soldiers in their distinctive black exoskeletal armor. In the past, these warriors had terrified their enemies. Against human special forces in next-generation combat suits, they'd barely slowed the advance. "Captain," came Sergeant Lee's voice over the comm. "We've reached the main processing center. You need to see this." When Maya arrived minutes later, she understood the tension in Lee's voice. The processing center was an efficient horror, an assembly line of suffering where captured luminari were sorted by physical capabilities, implanted with control devices, and loaded onto transports. Those deemed unsuitable for labor were directed to a separate facility that needed no explanation. "Get these people free," Maya ordered, her voice tight. "Medical teams, priority attention to the children." As her soldiers worked to liberate the captives, Maya approached a trembling luminary elder whose luminescence had dimmed to a faint blue glow. "You're safe now," Maya said, removing her helmet to show her face. A gesture she'd learned helped reassure the light-sensitive species. "We're here to help." The elder's 4-fingered hand reached out tentatively. The stories were true then. Humans have returned to the stars. "We never left," Maya corrected gently. "We just needed a reminder of why we're out here." In the 3 months since humanity entered the conflict, the Krath Empire had lost control of 37 star systems. Their once unstoppable advance had not merely been halted, it had been catastrophically reversed. In an emergency session of the Galactic Council, representatives from 24 species debated the implications as humans liberated not only luminary worlds, but also those of other conquered species. "The balance of power has shifted dramatically," observed the Thrall representative, their tentacles gesturing emphatically. "The humans do not merely fight. They wage total war. They target production facilities, command structures, supply lines. They fight to win," said Ambassador Ilara, who now represented the recovering Luminary Confederation. "Not to posture or dominate, but to end the threat completely." "And when the Krath are defeated?" asked the Volturian emissary, their metallic voice edged with concern. "What then? Will the humans withdraw again, or will they become the new power we must fear?" Before Ilara could respond, the chamber doors opened to admit a human delegation, the first to enter the council hall in centuries. Admiral Chen led the group, her uniform bearing the subtle marks of recent combat. "The Galactic Council recognizes the representatives of Earth," announced the High Arbiter, with more wariness than welcome. Admiral Chen surveyed the assembled dignitaries, her expression unreadable. "Distinguished representatives, I come before you not to make excuses for humanity's intervention, but to explain it. The Luminary asked for our help when this council offered none. They faced extinction while you debated protocols and precedents. The council must consider all implications of," began the Volturian. "People were dying," Chen interrupted flatly, "while you considered implications." An uncomfortable silence settled over the chamber. "The humans have not come to justify their actions," Ilara said into the quiet. "They have come to inform you of what happens next." Chen nodded. "The Krath Empire has sued for peace. Their remaining forces are retreating to their original territories, and they have agreed to release all enslaved populations. These terms are not negotiable." The council erupted in astonished murmurs. "By what authority do humans dictate terms to an empire?" demanded the Thrall representative. "By the authority of our fleet above the Krath homeworld," Chen replied simply. "But we have not come to impose our will on the galaxy. Once stability is restored, Earth will withdraw its military forces, with some exceptions." She gestured and holographic displays activated around the chamber, showing detailed plans for a new defensive alliance between humans and formerly oppressed species. "The Human Luminary Accord establishes mutual defense pacts and technology exchanges," Chen continued. "Any civilization that wishes to join this accord may apply for membership, provided they commit to defending others when called upon." "And if the Council objects to this new power block?" asked the Volturian. Chen's smile was thin but genuine. "With respect, your objection would be noted and ignored. The old order failed those who needed protection. We offer an alternative based not on endless deliberation, but on action." As the council session dissolved into heated discussion, Ilara approached Admiral Chen privately. "Your people have done more than save mine," the ambassador said. "You've changed the course of galactic history." Chen looked out at the stars visible through the council hall's massive windows. "Humanity spent centuries behind our borders, afraid that our nature made us unfit for galactic society. But we've realized something important." "What's that?" Ilara asked. "Sometimes the galaxy doesn't need more diplomats," Chen said. "Sometimes it needs someone willing to fight for those who cannot fight for themselves." In the space above them, the human fleet maintained its vigilant presence, a promise and a warning to all who would witness this new era. The message was clear. The isolation was over. Humanity had returned to the stars, and the stars would never be the same.